Okay, so I'm Addeline Mitchell, and I did my project on something that I decided to call CWAssist. So just for a bit of background, I recently earned my technician license for ham radio. A couple of things that I learned were that some radio frequencies are Morse only. CW is a shorthand for Morse. And I figured that I would probably need some sort of tool in order to do that, because learning Morse is not the easiest thing to do, especially since you have to get the timing just right. Another thing that I was told by my instructor was that the old guys can tell the difference between computer and human-generated Morse code. And if that's not a good reason to make a tool to try and trick them, then... So for my minimum viable product, I wanted to be able to convert text to Morse code as the user types it in. I also wanted to have methods available to alter things like the pitch and the speed, although I figured I didn't have to necessarily get them fully implemented. Then also have potentially helpful tertiary information like Q signals and pro signs. I also wanted to have listen and broadcast buttons. Listen would simply just play the audio for the person who presses the button, and the broadcast would port it to a radio. In addition to that, I wanted to make sure that it didn't refresh on submission, because otherwise you might lose the message that you already had typed. And then I also wanted the audio to be recognizable as Morse code. That was harder than I thought it was going to be. The audio quality as well as the locality needs work still. Things that I used for this project, Django, Foundation Reserve, and Font Awesome. I learned quite a bit, but I feel like not quite enough about generating audio in Python. So stretch goals, varying the pitch, managed to get that to work. I started on varying the speed as well, but it's not quite there yet. I also wanted to vary the variability of speed so that the user can play around with how consistent the tones are. And then also allow for using the Farnsworth technique for speed. With the Farnsworth technique, like all of the dots and dashes are played at 18 words per minute, but the spaces between those are longer in order to make the overall speed a lot shorter. So I mentioned porting to radio earlier. In theory, this should be as easy as setting up a virtual cable, a physical cable, and plugging it into a physical radio. But I don't have a radio to test with, so I'll have to find that out later. One of the bigger things that I wanted it to eventually do is also decode Morse audio, and for that I figured there may be some user intervention necessary, so I wanted to show a waveform graph of it. All my code is on my GitHub, and let's see. So this is what it looks like. You type things in. Pitch, speed, and variability sliders over here. There's Q signals and pro signs. If you hover over them, you can see what they mean. So doing the broadcast button doesn't really work right now, but the listen button does. And unfortunately, it's only playing on the server side, so it's over there. The audio also sounds really bad. But as I said, I can change the pitch. I should probably also implement a pause or stop button, I think. But yeah, this is what it is for now. Any questions?
What's this KAR?
Okay, so if you look at the pro signs table, there's the K. That's short for over. And the implication of that is that you're inviting some other station to transmit. And then AR is out, end of message. So KAR, over and out.
It's car. Okay. I was about to say it, but like,
Why does it play it on the silver side and not the eye?
Because I didn't realize that was going to happen. As soon as I accessed the site from over here and I tested it, it was playing over there, and I was like, oops.
What's the difference between KAR and KAR? And how do you tell the difference when you hear it?
So there's, if you look down here in this area, I put a physical space between the T and E, and this is actually 3 spaces long. And between the E and the A, there's a space between that. So between letters, there's a single space, but between words, there's 3 spaces.
Can we hear SOS?